we end up harmonizing all of our chakras together, and then we end up creating a new chakra above the body that is like a harmonic resonance, a hyperdimensional harmonic resonance above the body. And then that process continues and continues and continues and continues up and up and up and up and up and up, what I call the Jacob's ladder to heaven. Okay, now as this process unfolds, as you harmonize more and more and more with these higher octaves, these higher frequencies, these star systems, as you embody the feedback loop of star systems, essentially is what I'm saying, then you end up expanding your aura. You end up expanding the circumference of the universe. Remember, the universe is an infinite sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. You end up expanding the circumference of your universe to embody larger and larger amounts of the universe by harmonizing your frequency with the octaves of star systems, whether that be our star system, like as in our sun or our planet, or the star system of something like Sirius or the Orion Nebula or something like that. Okay, ultimately what we're talking about is the embodying of these octaves. Okay, what we're talking about is the embodying of this type of a frequency right here, this really high frequency being channeled through the sun and the sun's vortex down to you here on the earth, in the earth's frequency, right? And thusly your physical body, your auric field, right, is thusly this shape. It is thusly this pattern. Okay, this hyperdimensional pattern. So if we understand the idea that what we are is beings of frequency and energy, more so than we are beings of, like, or just as much as we are beings of physicality, okay, if we understand that we're more so beings of energy though, and that this physical body is more like a husk, that it's more like a shell, that our spirit is going to move on, right? This is the whole like understanding the life and death cycle, and you have to understand all this stuff in order to understand extraterrestrials and all, okay? If we understand that we are this consciousness, then the whole idea is that by doing these sacred ceremonies that involve, say, the embodying of star systems feedback loop or their frequencies, and we do this process here with our own consciousness, then we can go from being a three-dimensional average human being to being a hyperdimensional hypercube shaman to a, you know, hyperdimensional shaman that's so far beyond the physical reality that we perceive with our five senses that physical reality is laughable. All right? And the only way that's possible is by traveling up the harmonic resonance patterns, okay? So you can't just go from here to here like that, okay? You have to work your way up, okay? You can't just go from here to here. You have to go through this process here, okay? And that's what these ceremonies are about. That's what the ancient cultures were all about, was understanding these harmonic frequencies and getting in tune with them. Okay, thusly they could expand their auric field to encompass these star systems and their understandings of reality. Okay, so how is this possible? How is it that human beings are even able to do this? Well, it's because, as I said before, we are a fractal embodiment of the universe. Our physical body is like a standing wave of and a concrescence of all reality. Okay. Oops. So what you're looking at here is something called the amplituhedron, okay? And this is something that was discovered by quantum physicists, okay? And the math of it all works out, and basically this here is like what all of reality is bouncing off of, according to quantum physicists, okay? Now, if we take this shape and we replicate it in a different way here, we see, oh my gosh, wow, you just add one here and you add another one here, and oh my God, you have the tetrahedron. Okay, so once again, this is phi, 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 all different phi's being stacked on top of one another to create a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts. Okay, all the while, phi in and of itself is a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts. And this process of self-reflection just keeps going and going and going. And we embody that, okay? So this is the guy right here that discovered this, Nima Arkani Hammad, forgive me. A PhD theoretical physicist, Institute for Advanced Studies at Princeton. Okay, now look here. This is the vector equilibrium, y'all. Look at that. And here, this is the tetrahedron. You see? Okay, so what we're looking at here is basically quantum physicists' way of saying that all of reality is based off of the tetrahedron. Okay, all of reality is based off of this same single mathematical structure. So essentially what I'm saying here is that this is physicists' way of proving kind of what it is that I'm saying, and that is that at the core, at the fundamental core of all things is this hyperdimensional energy. Okay, at the fundamental core of all existence is the fractal sacred geometric structure of the vector equilibrium double torus field. Okay, and it is this center here that is like the hyperdimensional energy, the hyperdimensional consciousness, the whole that is greater than the sum of its parts that creates all reality. Okay, this is like the beginning and the end of the feedback loop right here. Okay, so with that understanding, this is how it is that we as human beings, because this is kind of what we are, is like, as far as a consciousness goes, is this thing spinning over and over and over again, creating multiple different realities that we're branching to in physical time and space. Okay, and as we do this process, we are essentially embodying certain timelines. We are choosing certain levels and frequencies of consciousness that we wish to embody based on our thoughts, based on our emotions, etc., etc. Okay? So with that said, this process isn't just something strictly to humans. This is something that is going on an earth level. That's where this whole idea of Gaia comes from. Okay? Because Gaia is a real being, y'all. Our earth is conscious. Okay? Whether or not you know it, our earth is conscious. Okay? It's conscious. All right, just like, and this here is Kronos, this is Saturn, okay, this here is Jupiter or Zeus, okay, all of these beings are conscious beings, okay, there's a reason why our ancestors said that they were gods, okay, because they understood that these were actual beings of awareness, these were self-conscious, self-aware, hyperdimensional beings of consciousness, of like energy, on such a high harmonic scale that it baffles this little three-dimensional cube mind. Because what we're talking about is a mind like this right here. So far beyond the fifth dimension. We're talking like into like the 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensions. Okay? The highest possible octaves of physical existence. Okay? That is what these beings are embodying. Okay, so when we do damage to Gaia, when we hurt our planet, when we hurt each other, what are we doing to the universe? What are we doing to this beautiful and wonderful mother of ours? Okay, think about it, eh? Think about it. So with that understanding, what we're looking at when we talk about the gods, whether it be low frequency beings like Saturn and Kronos, or high frequency beings like Zeus and Jupiter, or titans that are of kind of a loving, all-encompassing vibratory frequency like Gaia, okay? What we're talking about is hyperdimensional beings of this nature here, of the tetrahedron. Okay, we're talking about beings that are on like the highest possible harmonic octaves of awareness. Okay, now we as human beings are able to embody these things. We are able to embody either the best attributes of humanity or the worst attributes of humanity, and we can do so at the loving behest of our mother Gaia. Okay, now how we do that is largely up to our thoughts, our emotions, and our choices. Okay, so if we go with, you know, pride, false prestige, ignorance, anger, envy, greed, these things lead us to this type of a consciousness, this low frequency, destructive, pulling in to satisfy the self type consciousness. Okay, whereas if we go the opposite direction, if we go with the idea of renouncing attachments, acceptance of these of a spiritual master or some sort of a higher source like God, okay, we study scriptures, we don't give in to all of our desires, we control our senses, we gain spiritual knowledge, and we essentially embody the highest possible octaves of consciousness that are available to humanity here on the third plane dimension. on the third dimensional plane. So if we comprehend the idea that essentially human beings are like standing waves of energy, conscious standing waves of energy. Oh boy. So what we're saying, what I'm saying essentially, is that we are these standing waves of energy that can either be guided toward a perilous, storm-filled ocean, or we can be guided toward a beautiful, peaceful, pristine ocean where everything is smooth and calm and chill and beautiful, yada, yada, yada. Okay, we're talking about different frequencies and octaves of vibration in the scales of infinity. Okay, and in the fractal geometric structure of hyperdimensional reality. Okay, and we as conscious beings, through our choices, through our thoughts, through our emotions, etc., choose which reality we wish to embody, choose which timeline we wish to bring into existence. Okay, and thusly we either choose to go down the line and become less than a three-dimensional and a two-dimensional or even a one-dimensional being, basically a being that is all about self-gratification, doesn't care, doesn't understand about reality, doesn't see others as the self, etc., etc. Or we can move up the scale and we can end up seeing all things as the self. We can end up seeing reality as it actually is, that it's all this hyperdimensional consciousness, that it's all this hyperdimensional energy that is flowing through this basic sacred geometric structure of reality. Okay, and thusly we can embody these types of consciousnesses, okay, as opposed to this type of consciousness. Okay, so in the scales of infinity, we can either ascend to the highest possible peaceful planes of existence and reality, or we can descend based on the fractal geometric structure of reality, because this is you right here. This is you. You are a vector equilibrium and double torus field that is spinning and drawing timelines to it and through the feedback loop, through the fractal geometric structure of space and time. Okay? You are a being of frequency. You are a being of energy. Just as much, if not more, than you are a being of physical resonance. Okay? Of physicality. Okay? So, just continue. Further review. First dimension, second dimension, third dimension, fourth dimension. Okay, then when we get into this idea of the cuboctahedron or the vector equilibrium, and then we start stacking spheres, okay, or double torus fields on top of all that, okay, and then you spin it, okay, you get a hypercuboctahedron or an amplituhedron, which is a cuboctahedron plus time and motion. Okay, so this is essentially the physics of what it is that I'm saying to you. Okay, just for those of you who are skeptics, okay? Trust me on this, there's plenty of research that went into this presentation, all right? So what this is essentially is the movement of energy through vortexes in space and time, okay? And because we are the hyperdimensional energy at the core here, and there's all of these infinite possibilities that we can branch to and through in the dimensions of space and time based on our choices and our thoughts, okay, we are basically frequencies moving through the dimensions of space and time over and over and over again down to our conscious experience of life on Earth, okay, where this process getting funneled down over and over and over and over again. Okay, this energy moving through the cosmos over and over and over again to create this self-reflective process, to create this self-awareness that is contributing to the growth of the universe as a whole, or the universal, multiversal mind. Okay. So with that said, this is where we get into the idea of like gods and beings that exist throughout all of this time. Okay, we're talking about a being that has lived and embodied all of these different frequencies of vibration and is still kicking. Okay, is still aware of itself, is still trucking, still going, wow, how about that? This is really cool. This huge like feedback loop of latent information that's informing me of myself is radically awesome. All right, we're talking about beings like Shiva here, okay? Or beings like Brahma, okay? Beings like Krishna. And if you're outside of Hindu mythology, let's go to Zeus, Gaia. All right, we want to start talking Romans, we say Jupiter. Okay, what we're talking about is beings that are a whole greater than the sum of their parts on a physical scale that is so vast beyond human comprehension that they're gods. You see? Do you see? And these are aliens, ladies and gentlemen. These are aliens, okay? When we communicate with Mother Nature, we're communicating with an alien. We're communicating with an extraterrestrial intelligence, okay? We're communicating with a hyperdimensional intelligence. All right? Now, this is where it gets really interesting, okay? Because as I said before, we are beings of frequency, we are beings of energy, just as much, if not more, than we are beings of physicality, okay? And as energy moves through the feedback loop of light and information, yada, 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 okay, there are different energetic beings that get sent through the sun vortex and to Earth, okay, and incarnating in physical bodies, okay, regardless of whether or not this body looks like a gray alien. No, 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 that's not how it works. The archetype, the frequency field is what is the quote unquote alien, you guys. Okay, it's these frequency fields that are of different harmonic resonances from different worlds. Do you see now? Do you see how literally the whole earth could be populated with aliens and we wouldn't even know it? Because we all look the same. Oh, relatively. I mean, if you go to the DMV high enough, you'll see some aliens. Trust me on that shit. So with that said, the energy that moves through these harmonic octaves of reality in these multiversal versions of reality, creating universes, okay, is what is like tugging and pulling over dominance of this planet. Okay, so what we're talking about is like star systems. We're talking about gods and goddesses battling over Earth. Okay, we're talking about alien intelligences battling over Earth. And the way that this stuff works is through frequency and vibration. Okay, so look at it like this. This is our sun and our solar system right here. Okay, and this is Sirius right here. Okay, and this is Pollux, the Antares. Okay, I think you get the idea. Okay, now all of these star systems, whether or not you know it, they all have a drastic impact on life on Earth because these electromagnetic fields, these frequency fields, these energetic feedback loops stretch back like so much, they stretch so much deeper than what it is that's seen on the surface. Okay, so essentially what I'm saying is that our sun here could very well be being influenced by a star literally like light years and light years and light years, hundreds of thousands of light years away. I mean, that is in fact the case because our galaxy is like created by, I mean, our sun is orbiting the galactic center, which is a supermassive black hole or white hole, whichever whichever you want to look at it. A supermassive dark star at the center of our galaxy. Okay, and that supermassive dark star is what's creating all of these other quote-unquote vortexes or stars and planets, gods and goddesses, okay? All of these different gods and goddesses, stars and planets, okay, of these different octaves and frequencies of consciousness and energy, okay? And so Sirius here, we've seen what Sirius's frequency looks like, is affecting our solar system's frequency, especially like during certain times and spaces and days and windows in the feedback loop, okay? And that's why our ancestors tried to get in tune with this star system on certain days, at certain times, at certain ceremonies, etc., etc. Okay, and it's because it's all based off of the same fabric of space and time. Okay, it's all interconnected, it's all interwoven, it's all vortexes within vortexes within vortexes within vortexes. Okay, and all depending on which vortex dispenses more energy than the other will dictate who ends up having more of a population here on Earth than another. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. All right, here we have the Draco star system. Here we have the Orion star system. Here we have the Pleiadian star system. Okay, and here we have Earth. Now, if you notice, there's all these different ley lines. This is the sacred geometric electromagnetic hologram structure to our planet. Okay, these are the frequencies, the harmonic frequencies and vortexes that create our planet. Okay, and it is through these vortexes, through these frequencies, okay, that these beings, okay, these star systems, okay, these conscious star system beings are sending their ambassadors, as it were, to be here on Earth and to spread knowledge, understanding, love, compassion, friendship, etc. Okay, so we have like a tangled web of frequencies and vibrations and everything mingling and meshing and interweaving with one another, and all of those frequencies are being dispensed through our sun and to the Earth and as human beings. Okay, so we are literally, whether or not you know it, this planet is host to many extraterrestrial species. We're talking about beings from the Draco star system. Yes, that means reptilians. And no, not all reptilians are evil, you guys. In many cases, the reptilians actually have a lot of sacred knowledge. There are perverted aspects to the reptilian mind, to the draconian mind, but that's a very, very small section of the draconian reptilian star system. Okay, the Pleiadians are a very, very high frequency, loving vibratory frequency system. Same thing with Orion. This is actually also like the warrior type system. This is where we get a lot of our warriors from, our heavenly warriors, our angels. Okay, so with that said, not all reptilians are bad. Okay, just because snakes have been called evil for thousands of years doesn't necessarily mean that they are. Okay, snakes are keepers of secrets and wisdom. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. Okay, but what's really important to grok, what's really important to understand here is that what we're talking about is the competition between different star systems. Okay, and the energetic dispensation of souls from these star systems onto the planet Earth. Okay, and the more we comprehend the idea that we are non-physical beings having a physical experience, that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, not physical beings having spiritual experiences, the more that this concept will become easily assimilated. Okay, so once again, okay, coming back to this whole idea of the lasers and the light frequencies and the frogs and the salamanders and all that stuff. Okay, the DNA codes that are creating the physical body that we are, okay, that is going to be the same because it's Earth, all right? But the frequency field, the harmonic resonance pattern that occupies this physical body can be from a place like Lemuria, can be from a place like Atlantis, can be from a place like Alpha Draconius, can be from a place like Orion, can be from the Pleiadians, can be from Sirius, okay? And that's how this stuff works. Whether or not you know it, that's how this stuff works, okay? So if you're looking to see a gray alien, if you're hoping to God that one day you'll see a gigantic alligator or something like that, well, you gotta probably take a whole lot of mushrooms for something like that, and even then, you might just terrify the ever-loving shit out of yourself, okay? So I wouldn't recommend that, all right? If you really want to make some sort of contact with these types of divine beings, then I would recommend you seek a shaman's assistance, okay? Seek professional assistance. This isn't a joke. Now, granted, you can continue to just pray to the divine, omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent creator God, And as long as you continue to do that with a pure enough heart, pure enough mind, then you'll make it. You'll get there. You will make contact with the highest divine source of consciousness. You will make contact with essentially, this type of a being or this type of a being. Okay? You will make contact. But you have to be like fucking consistent. You have to believe so much. You have to have all of your heart in it. And that isn't to say that there can't be room for doubt. Of course, doubt is the fuel of the fire of faith. Okay? But you have to have faith. You have to believe that God is listening, that God can hear you, that this hyperdimensional energy of this hyperdimensional consciousness is aware of your presence on Earth. And you know what? The universe decided, man, you know what? I got all this awesome stuff. I think I need you here too. So I'm going to put this person here. And that person is you. Hey, everybody. All right. So now we have to talk about the idea of soulmates, okay, and how all this stuff interrelates, like twin flames and all that stuff. What we're talking about here is this, okay? If you choose to be selfish, if you choose to not embody your highest divine self or something like that, and you continue to choose that over and over and over again, then you're going to get a very specific reality, okay? But if you choose to embody the highest possible octaves, the highest love, peace, harmony, yada, 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 then you're going to occupy a whole other harmonic octave in time and space. And in the process, what you do is you draw to you your harmonic counterpart. The double torus field, the vector equilibrium, okay, this is how universes are created, okay, is through the pairing of souls that know and love each other. Okay, beyond the physical body, you see, we're talking about beings of frequencies, right? Energetic beings of frequency, creating a vector equilibrium, creating a new universe, universal beings within a multiverse, creating a new universe, all right. Now, interestingly enough, what we're seeing here is actually the Sagittarius galaxy, the dwarf galaxy, being swallowed up and torn apart by, yes, the Milky Way galaxy. So whether or not you know it, in many cases, some scientists believe that a lot of the bodies in our solar system were not actually native to the Milky Way galaxy, but are actually from this Sagittarius dwarf galaxy. Okay, is that the case? I don't know. The universe is conscious. I wouldn't put it past it. You know, we have histories and mythologies and stuff that kind of explain a process that happened kind of like this. If you understand the whole idea that Saturn was the first in the solar system and Kronos eats his children and all that stuff, then, you know, maybe this whole idea of Kronos or Saturn coming from another world coming into the Milky Way galaxy is a very real thing. And maybe all the other planets coming in, falling in, and maybe this is where Nibiru comes from. I don't know. You know, there's so much speculation. There's so much speculation, and without actually going out in a spaceship or something like that, all we can do is really do our research, read what the ancient civilizations and ancient cultures have said, and try and understand that there is this like cosmic web of all these different frequencies of light and vibration, all these different vortexes and these star systems, these gods and these goddesses intermingling and intertwining and creating something new, creating something different, creating something novel. Okay, and that's kind of this process here is like this process here being carried out. Okay, I hope all that makes sense. Now, this whole idea here of like where you end up in space and time and yada, yada, yada is the same thing for the universe. Okay, so that's why it's so important that we work on ourselves. That's why it's so important that we push forward. Okay, that's why it's so important that we evolve as individuals. Okay, and we try as hard as we can with all of our might to find the love and the universal peace within. And then in the process, our divine counterpart will be brought to us just based off of nature. Okay, so this is where we're going to get into the idea of serpents a little bit. Okay, so if we understand that all of reality is based off of energy, frequency, and vibration, and that it's these hyperdimensional timelines, essentially, that are able to be branched to and through the feedback loop of light and information. okay, then we have to understand what this whole idea of like the shaman being encircled by the serpent is all about, okay? Because this is in Egypt, this is in Mesoamerica, okay? This is in New Zealand. It's all over the globe, you guys. This whole idea of the shaman being encompassed by either a serpent or like a jaguar or, you know, or a wolf, the animal. Okay, in particular, though, we're going to talk about the serpent aspect to all this, okay, because this serpent is actually a timeline, okay? It is a harmonic timeline of wisdom that the shaman is writing for his people to a higher dimensional realm of existence where there is life, harmony, peace, and beauty, okay? So the snake is like a guardian for the shaman. It's like saying, no, 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 no. This is my guy. This is my timeline. It exists within the hyperdimensional infinity. And this harmonic timeline is preserved based on me and me being the guardian. Okay? And that's what this whole, you know, coming back to this. Okay? Yeah. Goddess and the serpent. Okay. You hear that synchronicity? It's okay, Rodney. It's okay, bud. Okay. So what we're talking about here is a being, a hyperdimensional being, a shaman, or some people call them wizards, witch, whatever, warlock. Okay. These beings that become hyperdimensional in their consciousness. Okay, they go from the third dimension to the fourth, and then into the fifth, and then into the sixth, and they become a hyperdimensional being. Okay, and in the process, they understand the feedback loop of light and information. They understand the nature of reality, and thusly they embody a harmonic timeline within the fabric and the structure of the dimensions of space and time. Okay, now with all that said, okay, here on this planet, there are all sorts of this process of the, whether it be the serpent or the, like I said, it could be a jaguar. In some cases, it's a mantis. Okay. There's all sorts of, in some cases, it's a bird. You'll see the bird on top of the head. Okay. These beings, okay, are hyperdimensional harmonic octaves of consciousness that resonate so far beyond physical existence that they have to pick a medium for which to intermingle and interweave and communicate with beings on the third dimension. So they pick avatars and archetypes that are familiar, animals, okay, trusted animals, whether that be a serpent, whether that be a lion or a jaguar, a wolf or a bird, a mantis. Okay, ultimately, in most cases, they are all light beings. Okay, they're all divine harmonic octave beings of the highest resonance. Okay, that's in most cases. Okay, and we literally, you guys have all of these types of beings on this planet. Whether or not you know it, there are all these types of different beings on our planet right now. But they look human. Okay, because this their consciousness field, it is their field of consciousness that is actually quote unquote alien, or that is from another world, you guys. Okay? So this here's the blue avians. If you know about the blue avians, you know about Corey Goode and what he's talked about and all that stuff. It's really interesting stuff. Look into that. If you haven't looked into it, look into the blue avians and Corey Goode. Okay, these are like sphere beings, beings of light that have chosen to take on the archetype of the bird or Thoth, you know. Then there's the mantis beings. These beings are highly evolved. They consider themselves master geneticists. Okay. Then you have the lion beings or the feline beings. Okay. These beings are extremely wise. They're also very benevolent, loving, and kind. Okay. They can also be very vengeful if you threaten their cubs. Interestingly enough. How about that? Then there's the reptilians. Now, not like I said, not all reptilians are bad, you guys. Yes, there are some bad reptilians. Yes, there are. We'll get into that a little bit. But there are most of the reptilians that I've listened to and that I know are reptilians are wise beings. Okay? Now, there are some gray beings that are hostile. Yes, absolutely. Yes, but most of them are not. In fact, most of the time, from what I understand, when it comes to the gray beings, most of them are like cyborgs. Okay? They're like programmable life forms, programmable biological life forms, like a blend between biology and nanotechnology. Okay? Then you have things like the Nordic, beings like the Nordics. Okay, the blonde hair, blue-eyed, they got the jumpsuit, they come in their crafts, yada, yada, yada. Okay? These beings, in many cases, I hear they're from like the Pleiades and places like that, the Orion Nebula or Orion star system. Then there are the Anunnaki. Okay, not all Anunnaki are bad. Okay, what we're talking about is hyperdimensional beings of energy. Okay, and as I said before, there are hyperdimensional beings of energy that go all the way up to the highest possible octaves, Zeus, Jupiter, and you got the lower octaves, Saturn, Kronos, eats his children, yada, 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 okay? All right, so what we're talking about is the polarities and the different harmonic octaves of low vibration and high vibration within the infinite multiverse in the dimensions of time and space. Okay, and all the different variations of these harmonic octaves being represented by different species throughout the galaxy, and thusly these species being incarnated here on Earth in physical vessels. Okay, and the universe is essentially working out intergalactic trade, intergalactic communication, and unfortunately, in some cases, ending intergalactic warfare here on this planet. Because if we understand that the universe is an infinite sphere whose circumference is nowhere and whose center is everywhere, then technically the Earth is the center of the universe, which means that the cosmic play of sorts is being conducted on this plane all the time. Okay, which means that all of the beings that have a stake in this universe are here right now, ensuring that the ball does not get dropped. Okay? So, with all that said, remember how I said essentially every being is a being of frequency and energy, more so than, or just as much, if not more so than they are physical bodies? So it's important to understand that on the ultraviolet side of our light spectrum, this is according to my research, okay? On the ultraviolet side of the spectrum, okay, you have the positive entities, okay? You have loving, benevolent beings, okay? And it is on the other side, the infrared side of our spectrum, that you get the evil beings, the Arconians, the evil Draconians, the evil Reptilians. Okay, and yes, there are evil Pleiadians, there are evil Orions. Okay, humans are a perfect example of the way life is all over the galaxy. That you can't just judge. You can't judge all humans by the behavior of one human. Okay. So there are Anunnaki, there are Archons that are evil, okay? And the Archons are evil. There are Anunnaki that are evil, and they are on the infrared side of the light spectrum. They are on the lower vibratory frequency. Notice the low vibe frequency here of the light spectrum, okay? And all the high frequency beings, all the loving beings are on the high frequency side of the light spectrum. And we, as individuals, are a standing wave here in the middle that is like basically caught in between these two forces, okay, that you could essentially consider angelic and demonic, okay, that you can consider low frequency, high frequency, okay, and it is these beings that have been battling it out here on Earth for millennia, and whether or not you know it, guess what? The good guys won! Woo! Yeah! That's what the Age of Aquarius is all about, baby! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo!